Well, hello. Guess what? It's been a long time since I just sat down and recorded some footage. But guess what? It's because one of two things generally. If suddenly there's a big lull from the Reynolds clan, tribe, I don't know, we become Linenited. But guess what? It's generally one of two things. It's because things are fantastic and going so swimmingly well that literally we're accumulating lifetimes of experiences that someday, when we're able to sit down and focus on doing this more than other things, we share all that with everybody as much as we can. But then other times, the second reason is because literally things are blowing up. It's number two kind of time lately. Good and bad, right? Because they seem to like to ebb and flow together. We've had some ridiculous things happen. So I mentioned to some of you guys a few months ago that Chelsea and I's fridge wasn't working. Well, we finally figured out why. Because a bunch of our other stuff broke simultaneously. That's what it feels like. I've been trying to do repair stuff for months, which is never fun. I definitely spent most of my life trying to avoid ever having to learn the technical skills to be the home improvement guy. Did you guys ever watch a show? I don't necessarily ever recommend anybody watching anything close to shows anymore, but it was with Tim Allen. I think it was called Home Improvement. My family were diehards when it came to watching that show. But this guy was like the general handyman, comedian, and horrible cocaine addict who lived a very difficult, egregious life privately, publicly, in every other sphere of influence. But apparently he was the guy that most of our families wanted to role model for us, fatherly relationships. Shocker, most of us turned out terrible because of it. Guess what, though? One of the things that he was all about was the home improvement mentality, right? Not like working on his covenant relationship with the father or his wife or really his children, just on fixing stuff at times. He was really pretty handy at that. And, that was a skill set that I'm realizing was invaluable. I need to know how to fix things personally. Like when a transformer in the neighborhood you're staying in suddenly explodes in the middle of the night. You better know how to handle electricity because white fire is raining out of the sky. And with that came two serious problems. My refrigerator broke and my air conditioner broke simultaneously. And my fridge is not like your fridge, unless you live in an RV and have a propane electric fridge. My fridge is super complicated because it's like somebody took the furnace and shoved it inside the back of your fridge. And that same thing needs to be able to travel down the road, unassumingly, on fire, without leaking fire into places it shouldn't. It's a pretty incredible piece of technology. Really, it's wonderful. I'm told by one of my good friends that a propane fridge is without question one of the most energy efficient fridges out there. I've never compared it to other people's fridges until suddenly it stopped working. So Chelsea and I have been living out of a cooler for a couple of months now. And that gets old real quick, like after your third ice pack change on day 1 in the summer. Because August is hot. Remember, guys, I tried to spend most of my life also avoiding heat. Absolutely undoable. Now I work as a general farm manager. Well, I'm basically a volunteer farmer on other people's lands wherever I go. So I work outside all the time. And I try to fix stuff constantly. And I'm not necessarily the best guy at it. But I've been trying anyways. And here, you know what I decided? I'm going to share some of those unbelievable frustrations with you guys. And how sometimes when you're fixing stuff, I fixed this fridge, you guys, for 2 years straight. For 2 years, okay? I'm just going to vent for a little bit. Then I'll talk about David probably a little bit. Sling staffs, because I've been making staffs that sling boulders of destruction towards people. And then I'm going to talk about knives, because a mighty Gibborim finally finished my dream knife. Thank you, Eric. If you guys didn't know it, I've done a whole little mini-series with this outrageously mighty man named Eric. Him and I did a series on the arts of death and the way of life, and we're trying to wrestle with the question of whether or not we should study the martial arts, the arts of death, whether that's a really good idea. And if we do, maybe we should also, part 2, I guess, of the series, maybe episode 2 of the series, we're going to try to talk about serving in the military and whether we should swear oaths to God and country, all that stuff. Hint. Dead Sea Scrolls. Anyways, I'll circle around to all that stuff. But before I get there, you guys got to hang with me through the RV fridge life because it's brutal. It's savage. 2 years ago, on my way to a conference called, Question Everything Conference in Southern California with Joe Garcia. That was fantastic. That's where I ended up branching out and meeting all kinds of people. And I did a conference talk on where do you go when you die. People like to ask me to speak on death at conferences. It's amazing. It's not at all what I thought about. But so what I've started doing to talk about death at conferences is I bring spears and swords now, and sapphire and linen and bread and bare feet. I've really come a long way, guys. If you want to watch that talk, it's somewhere in my videos in the past history, or Nathan's conference talk. I have a playlist. You guys can watch that one. I did things a little different then. But when we parked there in Southern California, we parked at an apartment complex because trying to park an RV legally anywhere in California, especially within 50 miles of the coast, is pretty much impossible unless you know a homie who will let you stay in their apartment complex, and you do it super illegally. It's wonderful. You see, guys, I'm all about people keeping the commandments. I'm not necessarily all about the guy who's going to advocate for you guys to follow the rules. If you haven't learned that by now. If you spend any time with me whatsoever, you how to not follow signs because they're egregious and they're basically written by liars and thieves. Reference. I'm not telling you guys to speed. I'm just saying it's not a law. They're statutes. They're different. But the Bible talks a lot about statutes and ordinances and commandments, and you should learn the difference between each because specificity in regards to legal accusations is important. Anyways, especially when signs say things like, don't cross, don't touch, don't swim here, there's alligators. I'm like, volunteer me for that crowd because I'm about to break that sign into pieces with biblical eagerness. Chelsea really works hard, guys, to put out some Nature Nates, but there's a lot of clips, guys, of me crossing over signs that say, don't enter here.
Where's that go?
Wait.
Where's that go? Where's that go?
Wow. Isn't this beautiful?
We should go on the other one.
I think you should go on this one. It's amazing.
We should climb up together and get the daughter. Sure.
Finding, and I like to climb past signs that say warning, poison, and stuff like that. It's really fun. The signs that say landmines, warning, don't go there, I tend to avoid because landmines are serious. Don't mess around with old ordinances and munition, likely to blow up in your face. We're going to get to that story someday, I'll tell you guys. But needless to say, my fridge parked in an apartment complex in California. We left it there for 3 days. It was unlevel. And if your fridge is unlevel when it's full of ammonia gas and hydrogen and water, apparently the ammonia crystallizes like clogs in your arteries, and then it doesn't work. And that's what happened. So don't worry. It stopped working in the desert of Arizona and Phoenix after mighty Gibborim Bill, who I met down in Southern California, who is an incredible angler. If you guys ever meet a serious fisherman, don't call them a fisherman. They take offense. They're anglers, you see, and they're prodigiously good at snagging beautiful, delicious fish with hooks and lures. Bait a hook. Go talk to a fisherman if you want to learn how the devil works. It's incredibly important. If you read the book of James, I think it's James, crafts a lure to tempt you. Didn't plan on going there. Anyways, go look up crafting and lures and fishing for a while and study the scriptures, and you'll learn all kinds of things. But fishermen who fish giant fish out of the sea with tiny little hooks, they're amazing. They're master hunters. Well, one of them loaded me up with almost 40 pounds of like sushi grade sushi. It was amazing. And I had it all in my freezer. And then our freezer broke in the middle of a 100-degree Phoenix desert. Stunk, man. Literally, physically stunk. So I tried to eat 40 pounds of fish in 2 days. It was brutal. It was delicious, but it was brutal. So then by the time I got back to Colorado, I found a mobile RV mechanic who broke his legs after he fell off the roof of an RV. They're 12 feet tall, guys. It's insane. Anyways, happened to find this guy. He couldn't show up, obviously. Broken legs and all. But he did tell me his trade secret. Because here's the deal. If your cooling condenser unit on the back of your fridge stops working, it's like $1,000 fix. Fix, by the way, guys. This isn't for a new fridge. The RV fridge that we have, that dual heating and cooling system, is like $3,500. They're insanely wonderful, but they're terribly expensive. Well, this guy told me, here's a secret. And I love it when people say that. He said, basically, if you take your fridge out, uninstall it, flip it upside down, bang on the back of it with like a screwdriver or something, it'll loosen those clogged arteries. This is like a heart surgeon who just opens you up and just bangs around on your blood vessels and arteries for a while. It's pretty much how surgeons do it. Believe me, one of my best friends is an amazing surgeon. I've never personally asked him about banging around on arteries, but he tells me that basically that's what they do. Think about it. Crazy. This is an astounding story. My father-in-law and I flipped this gigantic fridge out of its spot, bang on it with screwdrivers, put it back in. It totally worked. Best day ever. That was saving me $1,500. Stoked. Well, that lasted for like 10 months. Then the lower control board, it fried. Stunk. Again, because food spoils. This was right at Passover, right around Passover. And you know what? That was refiner's fire time, because I had to try to learn complex circuitry. I had to learn how to rewire this board. Then that didn't work, clearly, because I'm not an electrician. Or I guess, I didn't do very well. But I got a new circuit board. I replaced that, which went well, considering I had to plug things in a very specific order without a wiring diagram. Did outstanding with good counsel. So then I nursed our fridge along for another, 5 or 6 months, until, wouldn't you know it, August rolled up and our fridge turned off completely. So then I tried troubleshooting it. $300 later, 4 mechanics later, then a whole lot more money than that later. 3 new circuit boards, still wouldn't work. Finally, you know what I figured out? That power surge, guys, when a transformer blows up in your neighborhood, if you don't have a surge protector on your house, like my RV, apparently it can blow all your appliances. So that's what happened.
Well, this is fridge repair on its final day, because this is the lower circuit board that I've replaced once. If you look very carefully, like right there. Oh, let's see. Look at that. Burn. Look over here. More nightmares. Yeah! Terrible. If you know circuit boards, they don't need to look like that. It's bad news. That's fried. Fuses keep popping. Power's breaking all over the place. My cooling unit got completely occluded one time, so I flipped the whole fridge upside down and banged on those and got it to work again. But it's really capiskis. It's done. So I'm now uninstalling the entire fridge. Oh boy. It's a 2-month battle, but I'm giving up on it. It's over.
It melted my air conditioner, melted the back of my fridge apart. And this was all literally discovered like the week of Sukkot. So my family and I were planning on being up in the beautiful wilderness, camping and delight, full of all kinds of beautiful creatures and fellowship and food and feasting, because the feasts are epic and you should take your children out for the 7 + 8 days of awesomeness during Sukkot. It's the best time of your life. If you guys have never considered resting on a Shabbat or enjoying the feasts, they're like literally the most powerful and beneficial and beautiful things you'll ever do in your life. I love them. Chelsea and I get geeked out for it. Instead of doing like the, 8 days of Christmas kind of stuff and any of that, we give Naomi, we prepare gifts for her. Chelsea's a savage gift giver, trust me. She's spectacular. She gives those gifts that say, you know me. They're the best kind of gifts ever. They feel so perfect. Well, we built a little Sukkot, because Sukkot is all about living in temporary dwellings, to remember the time of the people in the wilderness when they lived in tents and they ate manna which rained out of the sky. Awesome. We built a tiny sukkah for Naomi out of a tiny little fort that Chelsea found at the thrift store and a bunch of pieces of bamboo, and we built it and set it up inside our RV, and then every morning when Naomi would get up, there was gifts hiding for her in the sukkah. It was awesome and she loved it.
Hi, girls. What are you doing?
We're playing.
Playing in your suka?
Yep.
Cool. Look at there's lights in there.
Yeah. We're playing. Look at my whole shop. Oops. Jubilee messed it up. Sorry.
Oh, look at it. Fun.
Looks cool, huh?
So cool.
It was awesome, and she loved it because we're supposed to teach our children all about Yahweh. Now, Naomi is enjoying Sukkot. It's fantastic. Problem is, we don't have a working fridge. We've been living out of a cooler for 2 months, and I'm still trying to fix this fridge. Guess what? Finally realized, death stroke, guys. Fridge is toast. Literally toasted. I found smoldering bits on the circuit boards. Not just one, on a bunch of them. There's 2, so on 2 of them. Bad news bears. So guess what? I tried replacing those again. Still didn't work. Then you run into replacing electronics with electronics and trying to return them. That didn't work. Went badly. So I decided, you know what? Here's what we'll do. We'll cut this entire fridge in half to get it outside of our house. Because here's the just brutal reality of living in an RV, guys. My door is, without question, just exactly as wide as a human being's shoulders are, which is technically 20.5 inches. So my fridge, I soon learned, was built into the frame of my house. As in, they built the entire side assembly of my house, put the fridge inside it, and my sofa, not thinking about, hey, what if this guy ever wants to change his couch?
Do you ever have those moments in life where you suddenly realize there's a whole other space in your house that's been untouched? Bad news is, this couch literally doesn't fit out the door. At all. Don't worry, people are coming to buy it in a few hours. I have to completely disassemble this entire couch. I'm not excited. Savage. But I'm really determined to have a space where I can have a chair that I can lean flat in.
Or, what if his fridge ever breaks? Guess what? That's what sawzalls are for. So, 3 weeks before this, I wanted to get rid of my couch and put a chair that I could lie flat in. So I had to cut my my couch frame completely in half with a sawzall. That was so fun. It was spectacular. I enjoyed that a lot.
There you go. Woo! Look at all that real estate in my house. Yes! I got rid of a giant couch that was literally welded together inside my RV so it couldn't fit out the door. I took a sawzall to it. Cut that frame stinking in half. Got it, son. Now I'm gonna lay flat right there. Watch me do it.
I enjoyed that a lot. Now the fridge, one problem. The back of it is full of that ammonia hydrogen gas, remember? So
You ever try to uninstall a fridge with a crying baby?
Tell him.
Tell him. We have. I think Jubilee thought she was getting swallowed by the fridge. Oh my gosh. Look at this space. Okay. There it is. Broken fridge.
Happy Sukkot.
Yeah, this is our Sukkot, by the way. This is how we Sukkot. You see the trimmers? The 9 trimmers there? Oh boy.
I'm gonna touch this.
Don't touch the... Okay, let me teach you about insulation, Nate.
Oh. This is how we're progressing. I'm trying to disassemble the entire fridge to get the cooling assembly off the back. To get it thin enough so I can get it out the door. Right now, busted my hand up. Oh man. So painful. But we're getting this thing out one way or another. So we can put a new fridge, some kind, right there.
by the time I finally was able to figure out how to rip that thing out, dudes, bad day. Because I realized suddenly, I could not fully disassemble the fridge without cutting through these pipes that is a sealed unit of ammonia and hydrogen gas with some water. You know what I decided to do? Go for it anyways. Yeah, so I took my sawzall and began my sawing process into the back of this unit. And guess what happened? A geyser of ammonia. Okay, if you guys don't know what ammonia is, go smell cat pee. It's horrible. It's that stuff that burns your eyes. Or you could just go buy most poison household cleaners that say, don't let your children drink this. Let them drink Mountain Dew instead. Which is basically just as bad for you guys. If you fill super soakers with ammonia, I literally used to chase bears, black bears, with super soakers full of ammonia, liquid ammonia, when I was like 13 years old. This was how my family decided how we could keep the bears away who were eating our trash at my parents' business. So we used to fill super soakers up with them and chase them, physically chase bears. How close do you have to get to a black bear to squirt it with a super soaker? Question. How close did you have to get to shoot your friend with a super soaker? That's how close I was to black bears on the regs. Ammonia, by the way, if you ever want to just squirt it in somebody's eyes, it generally kills them, blinds them, does horrible, catastrophic things. So you don't want to mess around with this stuff, guys. So what did I do? I put on a pair of goggles and cut that thing and ran for my life. It was terrifying, and it smelled horrifically bad in here, and all our eyes burned for a long time. But we cleared it out, and then I was able to finally cut the fridge into pieces small enough to get out my door, and I have never been more happy in my life. I know that sounds ridiculous, but when I look over at this hole in my house now, I suddenly realized how much space that fridge had been taking up.
All right,
Come look over here.
I'm putting the door back on. Had to take the handle off. Let me turn that off. Had to take the handle off, so that's in pieces over there. Had to take the screen door off. I was about to take the whole door off. Look at all the screws. Brrr. That would have been bad. Thankfully, a mechanic called me exactly as I was about to do that and said, just take the screen door off. Saved my bacon. I guess saved my kadosh body. I don't know. Chelsea's looking pretty savage. She's had to wrangle the children amidst this chaos.
Happy Sukkot.
Happy Scout!
Happy Sukkot!
This is the leftovers. And there's a bunch of ammonia gas in the air. Not as much anymore. It's leached out mostly, we'll say.
I know that sounds ridiculous, but when I look over at this hole in my house now, I suddenly realized how much space that fridge had been taking up. You know what my wife saw? No more fridge. Not so bueno. So it's been a little tumultuous because when I wanted to get a new fridge and put it back in there, I had to find a fridge that was only 20 inches deep, which is super tiny. So my fridge now, I couldn't find one that fit that space anymore. We have a door.
Well, there used to be a fridge here. Until I tore it out. Don't worry. A new fridge has risen up to take its place. It may be tiny in stature, but it is mighty in capacity. Booyah. Magnifico. Basically, it's full of eggs and dairy substitutes. Woo! Terrific!
Literally a dorm fridge. I found one for $100 that was used, and it's a lot better than a cooler, guys. But it's literally smaller than the cooler. So, say la vie. Keep going. Persevere. But the good news was, even though my air conditioner I thought was totally melted, I found a connector that was melted. And I replaced that connector, and I got my air conditioner fixed. Yes! That was one of the biggest successes ever. Not before I ordered a brand new air conditioner, and tried to get it replaced. And then it just turned into a mess. But we've had that kind of stuff going on for months now. But the good news is, we had a tree almost fall on our house and almost kill us all too. All at the same time, guys. You ever have those kinds of seasons? This is all during Sukkot, by the way. I'm giving you like a condensed version of like 4 days of Sukkot. It was insane. So, Chelsea and I wake up one morning. The day we're preparing to go leave and go up into the mountains and finally get our freedom up to Sukkot. And like a 2,000-pound limb from a maple tree comes crashing down at the back of our RV and our car and comes literally within like this much of crushing it. The limb was probably 30 feet long and this big around. It was unreal. And these are one of those moments in your life when you suddenly realize the limb was actually hanging over our car and our RV. But somehow, when it fell, it turned and rotated so that it perfectly surrounded our house and the car without crushing it.
This is how you know Yahweh is a shield. Yahweh is a shield to those that put their trust in Him. Here's our RV, my car the folks are staying with. We're supposed to leave in less than 2 hours. And look what happened. For scale, this thing weighs hundreds of pounds. And it was parked right there last night. I only moved it because I forgot something. I'm gonna drive it in. Oh, miracle.
Crushing it at all. It was one of those miracles. And as I walked out of my house and I saw this early in the morning on the day I'm supposed to roll out, I felt like the Father said to me, "It is not because of your righteousness, but because of my loving kindness." And I just started crying, man, because I'm pretty haggard at this point in my life. It's been a fatiguing journey for the last couple months trying to claw my way back out onto the next season and the journeys that the Father is calling us to. And it's been brutal. And you ever just feel like everything in the world is just got its claws in you and just trying to dismantle you? It's been that kind of a season. But when I saw that tree standing there, I realized the loving kindness of the Father is a serious thing. And I want that in my life. I eagerly desire that. I'm hungry for it. Aren't you? Aren't you guys like hungry for some loving kindness? Mercy. That's another way people say it. Like, think about it. Loving and kind. Do you know anybody that's been loving and kind in your life? It's one of the most refreshing things that you can ever experience. And I got to experience that. Because you know what was so wonderful is even... I got to grab a prop. Hold on. Sorry. I'm back. When I was staring at that tree, I suddenly had one of those moments of realizing how good it feels to be loved. Remember I was telling you how wonderful Chelsea is at giving these mighty, amazing gifts? Gifts that just say, in a very intimate and serious way, "You really know me." I'm a gifts person, guys. I love gifts. I love giving gifts, but I really like receiving gifts. It's amazing. Hence, the entire story of my life being about treasure hunting, because treasure hunting is the ultimate gift, right? It's like a perfect custom catered gift to that one and exact time and place and location to you. Like when you ever go, if you ever go look in a river or a creek or a ditch or the side of the road and suddenly something wonderful catches your eye and it's just like, here, that's for you. I love that feeling.
Check this out. I go ahead and find a tiny little river. By that I mean a gigantic one. Bigger than any I've ever seen in the whole state of my childhood. This is a huge river. And they have sandy banks, which means there's sandy holes. And I just started shoving my arms inside this one. And wouldn't you know it? A kissable turtle was right inside there. Look at this little guy. Come on. See that? He's just showing you his frowny face, but he's super enthused about being found by a treasure hunter. Now, normally, I actually think this may be a snapping turtle. I'm not certain because I've never put my hand in a dark abyss in this river and pulled stuff out. Look, I think he's actually got a big leech on him here. Oh, look at that. Look at that. Oh, nasty. Look at that.
What's a leech?
Let's find out what a leech is. This leech has attached itself firmly to this turtle's shell. Does not want to come off.
He has two.
Oh, he's got like 5 leeches because you know what? Apparently turtles are a great place to live on if you're a leech. Good graciousness. It's like the world wants to leech your soul at times. But you know what? Resist him. And maybe a vine dresser will come along and prune that garbage off of you. Gosh, that thing is nasty. I got to take it off of him.
Oh, rip it off.
Oh, he's so strong I can't even get him off. I got him off. Ah! I'm okay. That was
another
awful.
one.
It was borderline cringeworthy. Oh, come on.
There's so many of them.
Oh, they're just all over him. Oh,
Poor guy. Oh, that's really disgusting.
this is really disgusting, right? It's like a
really
slimy turtle
disgusting.
with slimy leeches all over it. Oh, gosh. This is me helping. Anyways, we're at a park. Because you know what? You should go to a park no matter what the condition of the world is, because it's good for your soul. So are turtles. And apparently, Yahweh thinks you need one, and I needed one today. So be bold and courageous and shove your hand in dark, stinky abysses, and you'll find treasures waiting for you. Needless to say, I'm Nature Nate. I hope you've enjoyed this moderately enthusiastic moment of your life. Go be adventurous.
There's no greater rush in all of existence. That's why I'm treasure hunting stuff like this over my shoulder. Figure out what that is. It's amazing. It's the sense of discovery. When I was staring out at that tree, giant maple tree, nearly crushing my house, I saw upon it the greatest gift ever. Because I started taking foraging classes over the summer. And one of those wonderful things that someone introduced me to, a mighty Linenitis, was called Usnia. Usnia, or old man's beard. It's a moss that's on the bottom and underside of trees, and it's awesome. You ready for this? I'm gonna show you some. Okay. Bam. Yeah! That ugly, unassuming little creature right there in my hand. Look at that. I am telling you guys right now, this is, apart from Ganoderma lucidum, red reishi mushroom, this is my second favorite thing I have ever consumed in a tea. It's amazing. Usnia. if you're in a somewhat wettish environment, it tends to grow on like the dark, shady side of trees, and especially ones that are standing dead, meaning they're still upright, but the limb maybe died, and it grows all over it, right? And then when it rains really hard, it falls down. Or when the branches or the trees fall over, they rain this out of the sky. And I'm not joking, you guys. When I'm not feeling so well, like I have kidney stones, guys, because I got into, read my book, that one, if you want to find out why I had kidney stones. Nightmare conditions I was put through. Taxed my adrenals a little bit. My kidneys had to filter out a lot of blood. Do you know what I mean? And poison and nightmares. So because of that, my kidneys have some problems at times. This plant, wouldn't you know it, when I'm having those kinds of issues, this is what my body craves. When I'm having like a massive inflammatory response to nightmares and screams, this stuff soothes it. I'm not kidding. My body just says, eat that, eat that. And I do. I go out and I find it and I make it into a tea. I just boil water and put it in a tea. Other people say make it into some kind of stock or something. But I just boil water and drink it like tea, along with holy basil, which is also amazing, and Ganoderma, which is even better. But this has been amazing to me. And I've never really found quantities more than like maybe like 2 or 3 like this. But that day, I was looking out at this giant tree that had fallen out of the sky, and I'm suddenly looking all over it. And you know what is covering this giant nightmare that tried to crush my house?
When giant trees fall out of the sky, nearly crushing your house, it's only for a blessing. That's all Usnia. It's my favorite thing to steep in my tea. It's delicious. So good for you. It just had to completely come crashing down, almost crushing my car and my RV. But miraculously it didn't. Oh, he is so good. Yahweh is a merciful Elohim.
Bags of Usnia. Ah, some Usnia. I got 2 gallons of Usnia. Usnia coming out of my ears. You know why? Because the Father knows how to give good gifts, even out of the evil and the destruction and the nightmares of what the enemy is trying to use to destroy us and oppress us and come against us and condemn us. The Father has mighty miracles waiting for us. This bag of Usnia, by the way, which I plowed through in good order, was more than I've literally collected in the entire, 4.5, 5 months since I was ever introduced to it. This was more in one sitting, in one fell swipe. The Father's like, oh yeah, by the way, I'm going to see you on your way. How about I bring down a tree for you? Here's a bunch of good gifts. You know what's even better? That mighty Gibborim, Eric, when I gave him some of that tree, because I cut up and saved a bunch of it, because he's a master whittler. He would never say he's a master whittler, but I know he is because I watched him do it with my eyes, and I gave him a chunk of that tree because it's a tree of testimony now, right? You know what he gave me out of it? This spoon. Oh, yes. This is how the Gibborim eat. They eat on spoons that look like this. It's got a hole design, like a boat's hole. Look at that. He whittled this for me. You know what this is? This is soft maple, I've learned, with ambrosia. Oh, ambrosia, guys, is like the nectar of the other Elohim, so they say. Ambrosia beetles bite into a tree, and they leave these beautiful lines. It looks like inlaid. It's without question one of the greatest gifts I've ever been given. So out of a tree that was bringing nightmares and destruction, I got not 1, but 2. And I think we're going to get some more spoons, because if you want, Eric will carve you spoons, cups, bowls, knives. Or, you know what's even better? He made my dream come true. Because 18 months ago-ish, I went to Canada. And while I was up there at a different conference, which was called, wait for it, Standing for the Truth? Nope. Dadgummit. I just lost it. I gave a talk worth dying for? Something worth dying for? Ah, man. I've had a few in there. Anyways, there's a picture of me with my boonie hat on standing next to a glacial lake, which I later broke through the ice, smashed through the ice, and sat in under the water for 4 minutes in. Not completely under the water with my face, but everything but my face in the water for 4 minutes with Jared Cressman. Shout out to you. But while I was up there, I got invited to another Gibborim's house, way far north, super far north. Apparently, most Canadians only live within like 100 miles of the border, or 300 miles of the border of the United States, because it's a nightmare cold everywhere you go north. But while I was there, this man helped me to make this knife. Thank you, Brian. You're amazing. Gifts that just melt my heart when people invite me to make knives in their house or their shop. Awesome. This was the knife I made. Well, the previous version of it, guys, did not look so awesome. But don't worry. I found the wood that Noah used to build the ark. It's called Nara wood. And I ordered some burl scales for it. And then I gave that to Eric and some linen. And you know what he made me? This. Come on. That's super sharp because it's awesome. Look at that, guys. Come on, y'all. This now is a knife I made. I made this knife. It's marvelous. But it took many other people to finally actually get this knife to be one that I could carry on my person. Look, it's got linen liners. Yeah. It's got Noah's Ark handles. Come on. And now it even has a sheath from a piece of Holstex, which is a thermoplastic that I've been using for holsters for years. Look at this. I have a knife with a sheath. Thank you, Eric. You're awesome. You helped me tremendously. These are the Ulti Clip, y'all. I personally love these for my linen pants because I don't always have a linen belt on. I don't have a linen girdle yet, guys. I'm working on it. But these clips, they'll snag on your gym shorts or your linen comfy pants, anything, and they will not fall off. Ulti Clips. They're fantastic. And it's just perfectly locks up in my hand. It's amazing. Look at that. Perfect plunge knife. I don't use it for plunging anything but rocks. It's awesome. But this is how I know I'm loved, guys. Because in a situation where we've been going through tumultuousness, losing our fridge, not having an air conditioner, not being able to go out in Sukkot, you know what came from it? Good fruit. People have been merciful and have blessed us tremendously. And the Father more so than anybody. He is so good to us. And I've been so encouraged because the other thing that I think Chelsea realized yesterday is that she was looking at this giant void of where our fridge is. We have a fridge space that's literally, our fridge is 1/4 the size of what our previous fridge was. And she's just, it's tough. Try to be a mom who cooks meals and has leftovers or wants to plan meals. I eat like 5 humans. I'm not joking. Sit down and break bread with me and watch me out-eat 5 of you. It's no exaggeration, guys. I've been hungry since forever. Read the last chapter of my book if you want to jump ahead and ruin the whole story. I like to eat. But now I can eat with this spoon. Fantastic. Anyways, she's trying to do meal planning with the tiny fridge, and it's difficult. But I think, you know what? We're going to learn how to ferment foods more. We're going to get to jarring. We're going to get to canning and stuff like that and work a lot harder than we ever have in our entire life. So, what's new? That's why we have good words. Anyways, guys, I wanted to give you guys a little bit of an update. And because of all this arduous journey, it suddenly launched me into a different kind of treasure hunt, which came through slinging slings. Yes! Now, if you guys haven't read your Sword of the Covenant recently, I encourage you, read it. Because this morning, this is what I was reading, okay? You guys ever read about the beginning of David's story? I did this series called Becoming a Gibborim, and I chronicled a lot of the Gibbor from the Bible, the mighty men, the mighty women. But you know what I didn't do? I didn't start at the beginning with David's life. I didn't go to like chapter 1 with David. I don't think so. I didn't read this portion of it, which is like the time when David was actually selected. When was David chosen to be mighty? This is going to be important, guys. You'll want to hang around because at the end of this, you'll learn how to make something so savage you can go slay a giant with it. It wasn't just a sling. Okay, check this out. Now, you ready? Okay. Do you guys remember anything about Saul? Anything? Most people do. They're like, yeah, he was a head taller than all the other people. He screwed up? I don't know. Yeah, Saul really wrecked shop, guys. Because he ends up becoming the guy whose full-time job it was to conspire ways to try to murder David. It became his whole life. Every single day for the last good, 50% of Saul's entire kingdom time as a king, he just plotted ways to murder other humans. It's a rough way. I've been down the bitterness road, guys. Not a good one to be on. But you know what's so awesome is that though Yahweh's heart was grieved at the choice that had happened with Saul and who Saul chose to become, he had an idea. He had harbored somebody else away. And this is one of the coolest sentences I've ever heard used to describe a human being. Check this out, guys. I'm going to be reading from the Scriptures translation. There you go. Scriptures translation. This was like my EDC sword carry for like 3 or 4 years. It's an awesome translation. Now, remember, there's going to be some Hebrew names that I may and will likely butcher, guys. Just bear with me. I'm an infant when it comes to trying to speak or learn and understand Hebrew. But I'm trying. Check this out. You ready for this? Okay. And Yahuwah said to Samuel, how long are you going to mourn for Shaul, seeing I have rejected him from reigning over Yasharel? Fill your horn with oil and go, for I am sending you to Yeshe, Bethlehemite. For I have seen him. Oh, wait, pause. Hold on. I have to back up. This isn't the first time we hear a description about David. Wait a second. Oh, yes, it is. Yes, it is. Hang in there. Okay, sorry. Check me. 1 Samuel 16. For I have seen him. Okay, fill your horn with oil and go. I am sending you to Yishi, the Bethlehemite. For I have seen among his sons a sovereign for myself. Did you hear that? Yahweh says, I've seen among the sons of Jesse a king for myself. Some other translations say, I've placed among the sons of Yeshi. Like, he's tucked a king amongst the sons of Jesse. You guys, think about that for a minute. You ever think about you may be placed as a king among all kinds of other people that are not kings and priests? No, really, because that's your identity. If you don't know it, I have a video, 2-part, called What's Your Name? And fire, fire, fire. The Japanese said Torah, 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 right before they shot a bunch of us. Think about it. Anyways, that's a 2-part series which talks about your identity and how important it is to understand your identity and your name. Yahweh says here that he has hidden a king among the sons of Jesse. You guys, if you follow this walk, you become kings and priests. You get to be one of those. Some of you guys, only one in a family, maybe 2 out of a city. Read the Bible, it talks about that. It's really amazing because he is all about treasure maps and treasure hunting. And he likes to hide his treasures amidst nightmares. I'm serious. He is really, really good at hiding his best resources right inside the enemy's camp. Now think about it. If you guys could just, for 1 minute, maybe a couple hours, think like a general. I know. Most of you guys have never had to consider what it'd be like to be a military commander or a commander of legions. Legions, plural. That's tens of thousands of human beings. Now imagine what it would be like to just try to outwit the enemy. Now if you had to fight an enemy, okay, what would be one of the most insidiously powerful ways of doing that? Well, if you could hide your company commanders, like if you could hide your general, be like, you know what? I think I'm going to raise up the mightiest of soldiers, but I'm going to do it inside the enemy's camp. I'm going to let the enemy try to raise that guy in there. I'm going to plant him in there. It's called an insurgent, right? It's like if you infiltrate the enemy's camp, well, what if you could infiltrate it generationally? What if the Father has really been planning his strategies for like returning of his people by sowing his seeds among the nation? Do you get that? He did it. Read the Bible. Jeremiah 3. Divorced Israel, scattered the house of Israel, the 10 tribes. Kings of Assyria came in. Oh, I'm going to have to do a series on Assyrians because I've been studying Assyria, and it's crazy intense, guys. The Assyrians were super savages when it came to shooting the bows and slings. They came in, guys, in like 722 BC-ish, because most of our calendars are bupkis. They came in a long time ago, and they took over 10 tribes of Israel, and they captured them, and they laid siege to them and destroyed many of them. But then the ones that they didn't kill, they literally sent and scattered abroad to the 4 corners of the earth. This is how Yahweh sent his seed and scattered his seed, his people, all in the sea of the nations. He went and scattered his best treasures all over the world. Now think about it, because some of those people, one day, wake up and go, wow, I don't think I fit into this system out here. I'm kind of not like the others. And they start reading this book and doing what it says, and you suddenly realize how even more so not like the others you are. That's the reality of the world. And then suddenly you know what you became? The best double agent ever, because you woke up inside the enemy's camp. It's awesome. So many of you guys want to like get out. There's gonna be war. There's gonna be craziness, guys. We want to flee to the mountains. We want to get out of here and bug out. And the Father's like, no. You guys ever feel like the Father shuts down every one of those plans you've ever had? Some of you guys are right now. You're like, we need to get out of here, honey. And you're looking at each other like, we got to go. We got to just get out of here. We can't live in the city anymore. And then the Father just shuts down every one of your plans and ventures every time you try to do that. Maybe it's because you're supposed to stay. Like, stay. It's okay. You don't need to be afraid. This whole book is about don't fear them, fear him, and everything's going to be all right. No, really, everything's going to be all right, guys. Take it easy. Relax. Shabbat shalomi, homie. The Shabbat is for you to rest. Relax. Even if you think it's nightmares and war and all this crazy, take it easy, man. He's got you. If you do what he says, you walk in his ways, you cling to his righteousness, and you be at peace, he will build you an oasis of love, caring, compassion. He will feed you, he will nourish you, he will clothe you, he will be your all-sufficient, ever-exceeding abundance of provision in this world. He'll take care of your needs. You know how I know that? Because he did that with David, guys. David was born in a house with a bunch of other dudes who, you know what we never learn about? Them. None of David's brothers get their stories written about. David, on the other hand, gets chapters, not just chapters. David gets books, not just a couple, like 5, 6, 8, 10. Go ahead, look up how many times David's talked about in the scriptures. A lot. He gets a lot of press coverage when it comes to number of pages possible. He crushes it, guys, because David was set apart. He was a king hiding amongst who? Frankly, for all we know, cowards. Because you know what? I can see something that's different in David on the day when Goliath showed up to try to fight him. I see David had a lot of other brothers, by the way. Not one of them went out there to face Goliath. Both of them, apparently, all of them should have known about Yahuwah Elohim, the God of Israel, the Elohim of Israel, and yet there's only one of them that rose up from amidst the congregation and battled that guy, David. And here's why. Because Yahweh had placed a king amidst the sons. Be bold and courageous, like David, which we're going to find out some attributes about David that I never knew till today. Okay, you ready for this? We're going to carry on. Now, and Samuel said, "How would I go? When Saul hears it, he will kill me." That's Samuel being afraid. Samuel also has 2 books named after him. I'm reading this one now. But Samuel's afraid, guys, of a dude. Not a good idea. But he says, Yahuwah said, "Take a heifer with you and say, I have come to slaughter to Yahuwah. And you shall invite Yeshi to the slaughtering. Then let me show you what to do." And pause. "Then let me show you what to do. And you shall anoint for me the one, I say to you." And Samuel did what Yahuwah had said, and went to Bethlehem. And the elders of the town trembled at his coming, and said, "Do you come in peace?" And he said, "In peace I have come to slaughter to Yahuwah. Set yourselves apart, and you shall come with me to the slaughtering." And he set Yeshi and his sons apart, and invited them to the slaughtering. And it came to be, when they came, that he saw Eliab, and thought, "The anointed of Yahuwah is indeed before him." But Yahuwah said to Samuel, "Do not look at his appearance, or at the height of his stature, because I have refused him. For not as man sees, for man looks at the eyes, but Yahuwah looks at the heart." Then Yeshi called Abinadab, and made him pass before Samuel. And he said, "Neither has Yahuwah chosen this one." Next, Yeshi made Shammah pass by, and he said, "Neither has Yahuwah chosen this one." And Yeshi made 7 of his sons pass before Samuel. And Samuel said to Yeshi, "Yahuwah has not chosen these." And Samuel said to Yeshi, "Are these all the young men?" And he said, "There yet remains the youngest. And see, he is out tending the sheep." Watch my video called Sheep versus Goats to find out why David was tending sheep, not goats. Stinking goats. I love them, but they're brutal. They jump the fence. Anyways, I've got some animosity. And Samuel said to Yesse, "Send and bring him, for we do not turn around until he comes here." And he sent and brought him in, and he was ruddy, with bright eyes and handsome. And Yahuwah said, "Arise, anoint him, for this is the one." The one, by the way. And Samuel took the horn of oil and anointed him in the midst of his brothers. And the Spirit of Yahuwah came upon David that day and onwards. And Samuel arose and went to Ramah. David gets anointed that day. That day, not any other day. The one day he'd been waiting for his whole life, but maybe not. Because I don't think David knew what was coming. Do you guys? Do you think David had an insight? We know Joseph did. Joseph had dreams, guys, that told him some super intense things were going to happen. We don't have that same reference with David. David was just out doing what David was told to do, which was to be a shepherd for his household, which is an incredibly big deal. Amazingly important task. And you know what? While he was out there, he was coming to know and be known by his Creator. Incredible intimacy with the Father. Read the Psalms every day. It's tremendous. Okay, you ready? We're going to learn something else about David. You ready? Check this out. And the spirit of Yahuwah turned aside from Saul. So the spirit, set-apart spirit of Yahweh, leaves Saul. And an evil spirit from Yahuwah troubled him. So wait a minute. Yahuwah can take his spirit away from people and send evil spirits to torment them? You betcha. Read the Bible. His spirit leaves Saul right now, who was the anointed king for all of Israel. And Yahuwah sends an evil spirit to go and torment him. Wild stuff, guys. And the servants of Shaul said, "Look now, an evil spirit from Elohim is troubling you. So please let our master command your servants who are before you to seek out a man who is skilled player on the lyre. And it shall be that when the evil spirit from Elohim is upon you, that he shall play with his hand, and you will be well." And Shaul said to his servants, "Please get me a man that plays well, and bring him to me." And one of the servants answered and said, "Look, I have seen of Yeshi, the Bethlehemite, who knows how to play a brave one, and a man, who knows how to play a brave one, a man of battle, and skilled in words, and a handsome man, and Yahuwah is with him." And Saul sent messengers to Yeshi, "Send me your son David, who is with the sheep." And Yeshi took a donkey loaded with bread, living bread. Go mill your own flour, guys. Chelsea and I are becoming Milenites. She doesn't like it when I say that, but I love it. We're becoming Milenites. Go mill your own bread. Obviously a 20-part series to follow. And a young goat, and sent them by his son David. And David came to Saul and stood before him, and he loved him greatly, and he became his armor bearer. Saul therefore sent Yeshi, saying, "Please let David stand before me, for he has found favor in my eyes." And it came to be, whenever the evil spirit from Elohim was upon Saul, that David would take the lyre and play it with his hand. Then Saul would become refreshed and well, and the evil spirit would leave him. Okay, David, y'all, said some things, attributes about David. Was a man who knew how to play the harp. He was a brave one, a man of battle, and skilled in words, and handsome. And Yahuwah was with him. I didn't realize, guys, before this moment, that it says David was skilled in the arts of war. He was skilled in battle, which means David had probably fought some previous battles. Now, I just recorded a little video on Facebook where I talked about how we don't know how David was trained. I didn't know if there was any verse that talked about David's combat. Did David study the arts of death? I want to know this stuff, guys. I want to know if we should study the arts of death. Like, how did the Israelites train for combat? Did the Israelites train for combat? And in what ways? What weapons did they use? Because the next chapter, guys, this is the whole David and Goliath story. Super awesome. When the Philistines gathered and stood on one mountain, the armies of Israel stood on the other side. David's back to being a shepherd, remember? That's where he is one day when his father goes and says, "Hey, take some cheese to your brothers. Go find out what's going down at the battlefield." That's when David shows up and he sees all the army of Israel cowering because there's this giant Nephilim standing there, super tank, 18-foot long spear with like a 20-pound head on the top of it and 200 pounds of bronze armor and super shields and javelins or spears on his back, or maybe a second shield, maybe a secondary sword, maybe between his shoulder blades. I'm getting distracted. If you go on Facebook, you can watch that video of me talking about all this. But David went to fight Goliath, guys. It said he took a sling. But you know what was actually in David's hand? When he went to get the rocks out of the river, the brook, he picked up 5 stones. You know what was in David's hand? A staff. Not a sling. A staff. But when he went to fight Goliath, Goliath said, "Am I a dog that you come at me with a stick?" Yeah, because David still had the staff in his hand, guys. So when David went to fight Goliath, what did he fight him with? This. Yes! Shabbat research paid off in heaps. And look at this, guys. This is a staff sling. You take your staff, guys, and you put your sling on the top of it. And then you can throw boulders with lethal accuracy. Tiny boulders, like this size. You can throw huge stone, guys, with your staff that's at the end of a sling. Throwing a rock in a direction you want to with a sling takes a lot of practice. But you know what doesn't? Staff slings. So this, guys, is what you guys should do. Make a sling. I took buffalo leather. I cut it into basically this shape. I tapped 2 holes in it. Tied them with paracord. I should burn the ends, but I haven't gotten there. I'm still measuring stuff. I did 2 slip knots, okay, on the ends of it. There's my pouch. Rough side of the leather, so I can use smooth stones. Smooth side of the leather for rough stones. Now, this is like an arm sling because I can't show you on camera with a big bow flap. So I made this one. But you carve a little notch, like I carved in the bamboo here. Okay, let's see, I'll try to get better light. You carve a little notch so that the string stays tied here and doesn't let go. And then you carve like a little divot here. So then what's happening? You put this on, the end of this here. You put your stone in your pouch, and then all you do, sling it. And at the end of its trajectory, this releases perfectly. And it goes straight. Super far. That's how David smoked Goliath, y'all. He's used his staff that was in his sling, in his hands, okay? Because when you're not killing stuff, like you don't need to kill anything right now, you can just tie it up. And then it's just a staff and a thing at the end of it. Isn't it amazing? So sweet. David was just walking with his staff until the enemy decided to cross his hairs. And you know what that means? You're going to die. David also knew how to pick up a giant sword and cut the guy's head off with precision. It's not easy to cut a head off, guys, with a sword. Personally. I know. It's a lot harder to do it with this. That's why he used Goliath's giant super sword. Anyways, I was elated when I discovered that. And I really want each and every one of you to go pick up some stinking slings and start slinging stuff with it. Now, better way to do it, like this. I'm amazed, you guys. The scriptures have so much good hiding in them. It's the best treasure hunt ever. Because I eagerly want to find out cool things and amazing things from the Father, he gives it to me. I ask him for it. I ask him to renew my hunger for his word every day. And you know what? My prayer for you and what I can do to the best of my ability is give you this gift. Ask the Father to renew a hunger for you to have in his word, that you guys would receive the wonderful gifts that he is hiding in front of your eyes. They're all our lives, you guys. These books have been sitting, stashed on shelves, getting dirty and dusty and not regarded, disregarded, meaning we don't care about them. We care a whole lot more about what the black mirrors have to say than we do about what this has to say. But if you guys would cultivate a hunger for this, meaning you get an appetite for it. A lot of you guys, the reason I talk about nutrition and bread and linen, fabrics and water, and because most of you guys are unwell. You're unhealthy. You're dying. You're sick and you're eating poison, toxins, voluntarily. You've been seduced like the good fishermen out there who hunt your souls by good marketers, industrial psychologists, people that manipulate your minds to control you and make you want to eat dead things, make you want to eat things that are cursed physically, mentally, emotionally, and spiritually. They will ruin you and drive you into an early death. They will steal from you your days of life on this earth. 4th commandment, right? We got some of the commandments right here. My daughter made these. They're amazing. 4th commandment, guard and revere the Shabbat. Super important. Most humans throw it out. Like, it's one command. You guys, you know what you're supposed to do? Sit down. Take a nap. Relax. Eat good food. Don't talk about your normal work. Don't do what you normally do on the other days of the week. You know what it'll do? Lengthen your days. It'll bless you. It'll give you life. You know what the other one is? 9th commandment. Is that right? Nope, false witness. Sorry about that. 5th commandment. Honor your father and mother, that your days may be well, that your days may be long in the land that he is giving you. That commandment lengthens your days. Doing that will literally lengthen your days. But you see, we have this enemy. That's this one. The dragon, whose job it is to steal, kill, and destroy. So his job is to set up the world all around you, to steal your days. Think about it. Most of us don't. We don't regard one day. We don't really care much about it. We think, it doesn't matter. If I eat this food now, like Pepsi Cola, you guys want to drink a Pepsi today. You're like, it's just one can. Yeah, right. But what if I could actually show you that if you drank a Pepsi Cola every day, just one, every day. It would shorten, diminish, take from you the length of days. There's a lot of food you eat, like white flour, all of it. If you've ever eaten anything that had white flour, or your gluten-free version of poison, all the stuff that's been industrially milled and then separated from the bran and the germ, if you just eat that stuff, it's going to kill you. Like, it's going to kill you. It will. Be like, hey, certifiably, you take a bunch of these pharmaceuticals, they're going to kill you. Yeah, but it might make my acid reflux go away. Yeah, but it's titanium dioxide and it's poison for your soul. It's aluminum and barium and strontium. And like, we eat so much, we're so consumed and inundated with it that we become desensitized to it. Most of you guys have developed appetites for poison. Like, you're the rats in the maze. And they like put a bunch of cheese down here and they're like, hey guys, there's some cheese for you. And you're like, all right, thanks. I love cheese. You know what that cheese has in it? No cheese. Just looks like it. It's just fake cheese. Looks like cheese. And you guys are like, thanks for the cheese. You pay for it. You work for it. You run around in the maze for it. And it's killing you guys. It's killing you guys. I have such a desire to see you guys lengthen your days. I want your days to be full. I want every one of you to fulfill all your days on this earth because you're the mighty remnant. You are the people that were set apart to do good on this earth, to bring life to people, to be valiant, to be courageous, to be bold and fearless. The righteous are as bold as lions, but the wicked flee when no man pursues them. Don't try to flee when no one's pursuing you, guys. You're thinking about tomorrow. You're projecting what's going to happen. You're speaking out your prophecies of what's coming for you. Today, Naomi and I, you know what the stories we were reading? Numbers. Amazing book. Read the book of Numbers, guys. And you know what's awesome? The Israelites, when they go to see the promised land, they send out spies the first time. And you know what? They come back, 10 of them give a bad report. They talk about basically these nightmares that are over on the walls. Giants that are so big we look like bugs. Like, imagine a 40-foot guy who weighs, I don't know, 15 tons. Just one dude, by the way. Imagine that. Like a giant oak tree. Human. Walking around. Body armor. Giants, guys. We don't even have a category to think about this stuff apart from the Marvel nightmares they're pumping on the screens. Giants all around. Everywhere. 2 of them are like Caleb and Joshua. They're like, God, what are you afraid of? Yahweh surely will give us the strength to defeat them. Good report. They said, the Israelites cried that whole night. They're like, Yahweh brought us out to the wilderness to kill us and our children. He's here to kill us. We're all going to die. We're just going to have to brave it out until we die. This is how most people talk. It's horrible. You're speaking over yourselves what you expect to happen and disregarding what he gave us, which is the covenant, you guys. This is the sword of the covenant. If you read this, it says you are the champions. He makes you the king. He makes you the priest. And you know what? Saul, most of you guys don't have a personal enemy who's conspiring every day to murder you that you know. You do now. Welcome. Here's your introduction. Read that book to find out a little bit more about the personal enemy that's seeking to kill you every single day. But you know what? Yahweh, he preserved David. Amidst all the sons of Jesse, he had one king set apart in there who was never killed. David was never murdered. Goliath had a lot of other homies. You know what I mean? There was other giants that sought to personally murder David. Ishbi-Benob. That's the guy's name. Ishbi-Benob. I may be saying it wrong. Go look it up. Read 1st and 2nd Samuel and find out one of the other giants that personally went to try to murder David. It was David's last day of battle, by the way. We know about his first day of battle that we personally know about here against Goliath. He slaughters him with a sling staff. The last day, Ishbi-Benob personally hunts David down during the course of a battle and nearly murders him. Like, very, very close. But don't worry, a mighty Gibborim stood up and saved David and killed that Philistine. Awesome stories, guys. Yahweh was with David. That one description of David, of all the things David was, he was handsome. Beauty can fade, guys. He'd been valiant in battle. That's awesome. But you can become a coward in battle just as fast, right? He was good with the lyre, harp, he could play well. You lose your fingers, guys, then what do you have, right? But the one attribute that David had that never faded, guys, was his love for Yahweh, his regard for his word, and that he had a heart after him. That's what made David so set apart. That's why Yahweh lengthened his days. David had his screw-ups. David had his sins, his failures. David made mistakes and transgressions, and it cost people severely. Great consequences came upon David. But David's heart was upright before Yahweh. He entreated the Father. He sought mercy. He knew and understood the loving kindness of the Father. And because of that, he was blessed mightily. He was enriched. The lengthening of his days was many. Father continued to pour out blessings on that man because that man was knowing his father's ways. He became about his father's business. Jesse was not the father of David. He may have been an earthly father, but Jesse just provided David a house to live in and grow up in. He provided the loins that gave him birth with the woman who bore him. But you know what David, his real father, was? The one whose covenant he carried out in person. He was the king for Yahweh's people. To this day, the throne of David is still the embodiment of what we all seek to be able to be witnesses of. I want to see the one who reigns on the throne of David. I want to see him who sits on the throne who will never be taken off of it. I want to see him. I want to know him. I want to be known by him. And I want you guys to be known by him, because in doing so, when you learn his ways, when you learn his way, walk, when you become like him, you will be mighty and valiant, and your days will be lengthened. He will give you good food. He will give you good clothing, water that never runs dry, guys, wells that don't run dry. He will give you living waters. He will enrich your life. He will heal your relationships. He will purify your soul, and he will give you courage to not fear those things that are coming, to not have the curses that you've been speaking come to fruition. The Israelites that said Yahuwah has brought us out here to kill us, that's exactly what came on their heads, guys. Do not look out at all the things that are coming and be afraid. Be confident that those are the blessings waiting for you, that blessings come through his ways. Study his ways, look at his word, and begin to become intimate with the one who made you. And he will enrich you and empower you and give you good gifts from the nightmares of what they've been giving to you. Let the Father bless you, and may he give you wisdom to know and do his way. I pray his perfect will be accomplished in each and every one of your lives. I love you guys. I appreciate you guys. And remember, live dangerously, because the days are evil, but you were born for such a time as this. I'll talk to you soon.